Monday, September 7th. This will be a day where you're continuing to work on extra if-else exercises. We did a couple to end off last time. I'll remind you what those were. If you go into the sandbox and take a look at what you've got, you'll recall this one, clean up road. And I've got an answer there for it where you were picking up all of the tennis balls. And there were a couple of ifs there that were able to be used. And so as you may recall from the last video, I was mentioning that Code High School and the Corel unit of it is very good for loops and it's very good for while loops, which we're going to get to soon. But it's not so good for if-else, which is why we're throwing in these extra ones. So yeah, we did a couple. One of the things, small things that I'll mention in passing that you don't have to do, but I would prefer it if you could, we did in class today, was changing the names of the last two that you did last time to have a 1 in front of the cleanup road and a 2 in front of the second one that we did. Because I just got them to start to save these as 3, 4A, 4B, 5, and 6. So just to keep that standard of naming, it'll be easier for me to give you your formative grade when you've finished them all. So here they are. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 you'll get. Doing 3 and 4A, 4B, and maybe 5. You will notice that my 5 and 6 are just reversed here because I think this does make more sense to do before that. So let me take today's class to, first of all, just remind you what we did last time. Just a quick 1-minute reminder, and then I'll take the rest of the time. It won't be that long, just 5 or 6 minutes after that probably, to talk about each of these in turn. So back over here, just remember the same old thing. There is an extra video on this that was posted, but remember that you add new worlds and you get in here and you try to make what I'm suggesting here. But the one thing that I do want to talk about for 30 seconds or not that much more is try to do edge cases. And what edge cases are is not just the typical, so here we're having random walls, not just what I'm calling the typical randomly placed walls here, but think if there are edge cases. And the edge cases, trying to keep this to 30 seconds, I really can't go into a lot of details except to say that they're normally on the edges. So normally as you're starting to do, for example, a loop, and as you're ending doing a loop, those edge cases can sometimes be different than the rest. I'll just leave it at that for now and wait until you get back live and we'll do a little bit more on this. But I would like to see, for this one, for example, there to be a wall here. Try it with the last wall and try it with the first wall. Your first, over my 30 seconds, but we'll just continue this just for a little bit anyway. Your first one could be like that. Okay, they're just random in the middle, but definitely make sure one world has a wall as the last wall or a wall is the first wall. Edge cases. Like I say, more on that when you get back here. But yeah, 3 worlds. 3 worlds for each of them. And if you're not sure what that edge cases thing meant, it's not the end of the world, but just try to go to the corners, basically. So here we go. 5 or 6 minutes of talking through what each of these are intended to get you to do. The number 3, and I notice here that there's not, at least in the picture I took, the name of it, so we'll just for now call it random hurdles. Jump random hurdles. 3-jump random hurdles. Jump random hurdles. So with all of these, you assume that the worlds are 10 avenues by 10 streets. So that's going to give you a 4 loop situation. They'll all have 4 loop situations. In this top one, you just don't know when you're going to encounter a random hurdle. So each time through the loop, you're going to have to use an if, basically. And I'll leave it at that. 4A, 4B takes what you've done before, and it just adds a second dimension to it. So the thing to think about when you're devising this is that going along and jumping these hurdles is no different than going along and jumping these hurdles if you're faced the right way. So probably, without giving too much away, probably the picking up of the hurdles is a function, and it's simply called twice, probably in the start, with something in between to make sure that you're facing the right way. And this one, pick up tennis balls. This is similar also to what you did last time. You're picking up all the tennis balls, but again, same as over there. The same thing done twice. Sounds like a function to me. So a function which allows you to be faced a certain way to pick up all the balls, and you call it twice. If you get that one, you'll know what to do with this one. And then if you get done both of those, what's this? I'm saying 4 worlds, because I want you to use the if, else if, else if, else structure. And I feel like I should, where would I do it? I guess I could do it here. Let's just go back to an actual program that I can type in. Keep in mind that everything that we're doing here, and I'll just get rid of this, just to have something to type into, that the reason we're doing this to begin with is to get you to practice if else, and if, else if, else if, it's else if, else, which all of them look like the following. If a certain condition, which will be a method, like front is clear or whatever, you do something, right? Something extra. Or if else, if the function, you do something else. Remember that they like the else next to the closed brace. They don't like the else to be here. They'll give you a formatting error if you do that. So else, you do something else. And the third combination, if a condition, remembering, and again, this is starting to be more of a review on it, and I don't want it to be, so I'll be very, very quick about this, but to remind you that the conditions are here. So the ASDF is one of these things over here. If a certain condition, do something, and it could be more than one thing, of course. Else, if a certain other condition, and this can go on forever, else if a third condition, and so on, and so on, and so on. But if you're going to do this type of a structure, where if something is true, we do something else. If something else is true, we do something else. Alpha is the third thing is true, we do a third bunch of stuff. You always like to end with else, and one of the mistakes that I can tell you that I noticed a number of times was people wanted to do else a condition, and that may be logical, but that's not the way that most programming languages work. Most programming languages work that if you have a final else, you don't need to put a condition because you intend that for everything else. So you've got this condition. I feel like I'm teaching this over again, and I'm sorry, but we're almost finished. Or that condition, or that condition, or every other condition. Right? Those are the structures. So how to get onto that? That if you can think of other ways to do, like this one, if you can think of another way to do it with method calling, don't for now. The intention here is that you do have this 1, 2, 3, 4, so it is this 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, not to give it away, but not to give it away, so I won't give it away. That's the sort of structure that you're going to end up with at the beginning of this, so that you end up turning, well, again, not to give it away. There you go. Those are your worlds, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you are starting in the upper left-hand corner, trying to get to the bottom right-hand corner. And I don't think you're going to get to this, but a couple of people did, so I might as well mention that the idea here is the same as what we've done before. Using a for loop, we get to the bottom right-hand corner, but here we're just saying that you could start possibly 3 different places. You could start at the top, you could start in the middle, and you'll know where you're starting. And there are several ways to do this one, by the way, or you're starting at the bottom. So I'll leave it at that, but like I say, most of the kids, I'd say 50-50. I'd say 50% got through those 3, and 50% added in the number 5. And of course, I would have talked a lot more about different things. Well, not a lot more, but I would have talked 5 or 10 minutes more. So that's probably going to be your full lesson by the time you've watched this and carry on with these exercises. That's it. Under 10 minutes again, that's not too bad.